Good morning. Well, looking about our reading for June the 14th, I'm asked this question. What use is our compassion if it doesn't move us to action? Perhaps this is the question today's gospel is all about us to explore. So we need to explore what compassion is. And today's reading begins with the summary of Jesus' ministerial practices, what he gets up to teaching, proclaiming the good news and healing every disease. But Jesus looks out at the crowds and sees something deeper than noise, need, or inconvenience. He sees people who are harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Matthew tells us that Jesus has compassion for them. So I thought, what is compassion? So I looked it up. Compassion, a feeling of distress and pity for the suffering or misfortune of another, often including a desire to alleviate it. That's key, a desire to alleviate it. So compassion is therefore not pity from a distance. Compassion is something Jesus feels deeply in his body. It moves him and it changes what he does next. He turns to his disciples and says, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Then he sends them out. This is important. Jesus doesn't simply ask the disciples to admire his compassion, he invites them to share in it. Then discipleship. Discipleship then and today is not only about learning from Jesus, it's about being sent by Jesus, responding to the Christian compassion for the world around us, and acting as his hands and feet in seeking to heal the wounds, stand in solidarity with the oppressed, respond to the needs of our communities and our world. In Matthew 10, Jesus names the 12 disciples and gives them authority to heal, restore, cleanse, and proclaim the good news that the kingdom of heaven has come near. They are ordinary people, just like you and me, fishermen, tax collectors, people with mixed motives and unfinished faith. They're still questioning. Yet Jesus trusts them with his work, which should both encourage us and challenge us, because we do not need to be perfect before we are useful to God. We do not need to have all the answers before we can offer compassion, but we do need to be willing to notice pain, to respond with love, and to allow our faith to become practical. The mission Jesus gives is about healing, liberation, restoration, the harmony inherent in the biblical concepts of shalom. The kingdom comes near when people are made whole, when burdens are lifted, when those who feel abandoned discover they are seen and loved. And Jesus says, you received without payment, give without payment. Grace is not a possession to guard, it's a gift to share. Jesus gave us that grace to share. Today, you might like to reflect on one or more of these questions. Who around you sees harassed, helpless, overlooked, or just weary? Where might compassion be asking you not just to feel, but to act? What gifts have you freely received that you are now being called to freely give? 2,000 years after the gospel stories, the world is still full of people longing for healing, dignity, and hope. And Christ still sends ordinary disciples like you and me into ordinary places to embody extraordinary grace and compassion. So, may you see with the compassion of Christ, go with the courage of Christ, and freely and give freely from the grace you have received in our communities today. So let's just have a short prayer. Lord, you send us out in your name. You give us your authority. You give us your power. So give us the courage to go where you send us. Amen.